Peace everyone. Today I'll be answering a claim that the Quran in Surah 9 verse 111 says that the Torah mentions the afterlife paradise. But first let's just read the verse though. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Indeed, God has bought from the believers their souls and their wealth, so that they may have the garden. They fight in the way of God, so they kill and get killed. Such is a true promise from Him in the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran, and who is more fulfilling of his agreement with God. So rejoice in your transaction to which you have transacted, and that is a great achievement. There isn't an error here, right? The Quran in its detail simply mentions garden here. What we can say is that for us Muslims, the garden is in the afterlife, but the children of Israel in the Torah, the ancestral land. In fact, the Torah describes it as a garden in detail. Either way, a promise of garden is happening, it's just different zones, but the reward is the same, which is garden. So when we read the Torah, it says, your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess and drive out before you many nations. The Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you. And when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you, and you have defeated them, then you must destroy them totally. Right? We see here that their lives are being purchased, as chapter 9, verse 111 says, in this promise of God. So the children of Israel are going to battle. And what's the reason for that? It's to get to an ancestral land. And how is that ancestral land described? When we read in chapter 8, it is described as the land of their ancestors, as a land of brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills. That sounds like a garden. Not only that, but the ancestral land is described as a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing. That sounds like a garden, right? So in the Torah, the children of Israel are promised, if they fight with their lives, the reward of garden. Surah 9, verse 111, does not say necessarily it is the garden in paradise, although it can be. It says the reward is garden, which even though for us Muslims might apply to heaven, but for those children of Israel that had this commandment in the Torah, they would be rewarded with garden, that ancestral land. So their so that was their reward, right? That was their reward for God purchasing their lives, right, and them fighting. Okay, so even though for us Muslims, it might apply differently, that it's a garden in heaven, the reward is still the same, which is garden. Okay, the reward is the same, which is garden. So, yeah, the Quran isn't saying it is necessarily the garden in paradise. It just says the reward is garden. And we can find that in the Torah.